For our gold conversation. And you know, here on this show, we're very keen on making sure that we do have the young people taking up space in the agricultural sector. And with me, I have two young gentlemen who are the embodiment of young people in agriculture. On my far right, I do have someone with a very unique name. He's Mr. Moreka Otuke. I got that right?
Yes, you did.
Yes, and he is a French beans farmer who's also exporting to the international markets. And on my left, we do have Caleb Bet, who is an onion farmer. Thank you so much, the both of you, for making time to be with us here on Kenya's Gold. Na ningependa tu kuanza kwa kujua zaidi. Why French beans? When did you get into French beans? Na unajua watu wengi wanasema hapo kwa soko ni ngumu kidogo. You have not only conquered local markets, you're dominating the export market. How did that become possible?
Getting into French beans farming was actually by coincidence. Initially, I used to do passion fruits. Then a friend of mine introduced me to the French beans market. So it happened that the individual who introduced me was working for an exporting company. Passion fruits was 10 years ago, but French beans is now 5 years now. We basically do the farming in Kiambu County, and we export the product through an intermediary to the Netherlands and European countries.
Right.
Yes.
For you to be able to conquer that international market, volumes is key.
Yes, it is.
Sababu huwezi pandisha ndege kilo 2. Unajua ya French beans inapanda ndege huko kwenda Netherlands. So
yes.
What is the size of your land? How much volumes are you able to produce so that you're able to satisfy that particular client you have in the Netherlands?
Working with an intermediary, or what they call a broker, is really good because what they do is they consolidate the produce from different farms. So I currently have 30 acres, but when you're doing the production, you do them in a staggered form. That means you'll do 6 acres at a go. So in any production, or rather when you go to my farm, you'll find that we have about 3 blocks, each of 6 acres. So we do the staggered production as we do the rotation as well. Ideally, in a well-maintained farm, you should do about from between 2.5 tons to about 5.5 tons of produce per acre.
2.5 tons?
To 5.5 tons an acre.
Per acre?
Yes.
And you have about 30 acres?
Yes.
But you've mentioned something on staggered. I want you to explain that further, but before we get to that, nataka kuongea hapa na Mr. Caleb, who is an onion farmer. Please talk to us about when you started growing onions and how your journey has been so far.
I started growing onions way back in 2023, but what motivated me to doing onions is in 2018, I had the chance to go to Israel under the government-sponsored program with the Israeli government. So from there, I was able to see how onions are produced, and I was able to. We used to have a mantra that doing by hands, and that time I really saw how onions are being produced from the seed up to the point of harvest, and I was like, I can try this at home. Then later on, I came back, went back to school, but now in 2023 I started doing onions. Right. Now I do farm in Kajiado most of the time, but I'm also a freelance agronomist offering services to different farmers in different regions of the country.
Kitungu ya Kajiado is very unique. What makes Kajiado Kitungu such a seller in the market?
Kajiado, we have a very good weather. The hot and dry weather is really good, especially if you have water for irrigation. The weather favors the robust growth of onions, and at that time you really have the good quality, the good size, the good shape, you know, and also they have that maturity aspect in that by the time you're harvesting, because of the hotness, they're always well cured compared to other regions in Kenya, which are more wetter and colder. Right. So that's why Kajiado wins in terms of good quality onions.
So from your experience being in Israel, we want to be in Israel through you. What is it that you have seen people in that country are getting it right in agriculture that we can borrow back at home?
The high-tech installation systems there. I think, I don't know when Kenya will get there, but in terms of tech, they are really on a high level, because now they even have a water program system. You don't have to, Kenya, most of the farms, upcoming farmers, we use a valve to open water, but there, most of the system is computerized, and also they have a very good support from their government, and also they have a good market that has been streamlined.
Right.
There they plant in volumes and they know where it is going to. And like Kenyans, most farmers here, we plant, then when it is ready, we're like, where am I taking my produce? Yeah, so I think those three things have really enabled them to really produce. And also they have taught most of their family members to do it on their own. You know, there's that from like a relay, you know, like you give it to the other generation, there's a continuity. And like Kenya, maybe because I'm a young man, my dad was farming, I grow up, I don't want to farm, I want to be a tech person, farming dies there.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk to us more on how this staggered form works and why that is very important for a farmer in the first place.
The staggered form, in simple terms, is you group your planting. So assuming you have now 30 acres, you'll have about 18 under production. So you'll split them into 3 groups. You'll have the first, second, and third block. So if you're planting the first block on the first week, you'll wait for 2 weeks, then plant the second block. Then after another 2 weeks, you plant the third block. Now there's a reason for that. There's something called risk in any business. So we have a lot of risks when you're doing farming. One of the biggest risks is manual labor. In Kenya, we are not that modernized to use mechanical harvest. Right. So you'll find that if you plant the 15 acres at a go, you're going to get challenges with getting the manual labor to do the plowing, to do the harvesting, because remember, we have also other farmers who have grown other crops around. That's a big problem. Then 2, you'll want to effectively utilize your machines, because I do my irrigation under drip. So you can imagine if you have the whole 30 acres under irrigation, it means you have about 10 pumps working at the same time. If those 10 pumps break down, that's another risk. So you'll want to do a staggered form, 3 blocks or 4 or 5, depending on the kind of pumping system that you have. And then 2, you'll want to have, it's called a redundancy system, whereby for each block, you'll have 1 pump and an extra one. So in the event 1 pump breaks down, you can easily shift to the next one.
Does it also help you to be consistent in production?
Yes.
Sababu inamaanisha, by the time umemaliza kupeana ya block 1, ya block 2 iko karibu.
It's really important to be reliable, especially to the middlemen that we've talked about who do the export. They'll want to engage a farmer who consistently produces throughout the year. So you can't achieve that if you just plant the entire 30 acres at once. Then 2, managing will be so easy, because you'll know this block is at this stage, the second block is at that stage, and you're able to, balance and level your risk vis-a-vis your cost schedule.
Right.
So once you balance all these things, you will find that it becomes easier to manage your farm.
Do you crop rotate kule kwa block 1, ama you go back and plant the French beans? How does it work?
So it depends on so many factors. One is you need to understand your soil. Usually, there are some farms which have undergone overcultivation. That means the nutrient level in that farm is really low. And we have other farms which are still rich. So it just depends with how your farm is. If your farm hasn't undergone a lot of overproduction, you can still do another cycle of French beans.
Right.
But considering the fact that French beans is a heavy feeder, it means when you do the second planting, you'll have to do a bit of manure, yes, to effectively increase the nutrient level.
Right.
But once you do the second planting, now you'll have to rotate to now manage pests, diseases, and also to balance the nutrients in the soil.
Right. And I'm going to come back to Mr. Caleb. Aniambia pale kwa vitunguu, wakati una rotate, because we are understanding rotation is very important in, sustainable agriculture. What crops do you rotate with onions?
I rotate my onions with the cabbages and also tomatoes and also maize. At some point, beans and also the indigenous vegetables like terere, kunde, and what have you.
What challenges might you have gone through in your onion farm? Yeah,
in an onion farm, there are a lot of pests and diseases, more so during the cold season. We really have a big challenge with the diseases. Mostly any disease, with the wetness, there's come a lot of diseases. And also the pests, we have a challenge with the thrips, the aphids, and also at some point you have the cutworms, Yeah, so it depends with the wet weather. And also, do you have an agronomist at your place, like who will always tell you that there's this disease coming up, you need to apply this kind of chemical. Yeah, so mostly there are a lot of diseases. I won't say there is no disease. And the other challenge is the market, because most of us, we have a challenge with the brokers. Yeah, because we rely on a broker who will come and tell you, like he's helping you, but he should not be helping you. It's a business. Yeah, so we have a problem with the market. The other thing is There was a time these seed propagators, there's someone I got seedlings from, he told me it is of this variety. I planted them, and Makio, I waited for 3 months, and it was a total loss of almost over 2 million. Yeah, so there's a challenges of, can I say, fake propagators? People are more into business than quality, but at the end of the day, you'll be planting, I'll call it hot air.
Moreka alikuwa amesema it's very important to work with these brokers. So ni kama kidogo ina depend ni broker aina gani. So please just help us kwa sababu in the agricultural market the word broker sometimes comes with a lot of pains to the farmers, lakini kuna wale ambao they are benefiting from the brokers. So how do we go about these people who we are calling brokers, their role in the agricultural sector?
Agricultural industry in Kenya is not regulated. So the brokers who interact with farmers will just come with, whatever crop they'll want. They'll come with whatever prices they want. Because, case in point, assuming you have, say, tomatoes and you've harvested above 10 tons, and then they come to the farm, they have secured the product, but they said out of the 30 tons you've harvested, about 5 is not market worthy. So what happens? They'll take the 25 and they'll dump the remaining 5 tons in the farm. So we are really lacking a lot of, government interventions. But when you flip it, the brokers really play a huge role, because assuming you still have the 30 acres, you have to get a lorry. If you're going to the market, we have cartels who operate in those markets. People don't know about that. To penetrate such a kind of a market is going to be a challenge, because these brokers want to work with the cartels who manage those markets.
Yes.
So it just depends with the kind of people you're meeting. In my case, I'm only dealing with an exporting company, so it's not really the kienyeji broker that you would think about.
Yes,
before we do with the planting, we usually have something called contractual farming. So that means we have a contract that is signed on the amount of product I'm going to produce and the set price.
Right.
So that contract binds the farmer and the sort of broker in that case. So when you're dealing with an exporter who's registered under the Agricultural Society or has a KRA PIN, or it's just the company is well regulated, it becomes easier to export your products, because you can take them to court if you have issues.
So Caleb, what can we do to make sure that there's a harmonious relationship for farmers like you and brokers? Kwa sababu brokers are there in every sector. Ukienda kuuza gari, kuna mtu utakutana naye hapo katikati, yeye ndo akona funguo hiyo gari unataka kuona, so unapitia yeye ndo uione. So it's like we have them in almost every sector, and they help us access markets. So tufanye aje ndio even the brokers that you're dealing with, what needs to happen so that you feel like, okay, we have a good relationship with these brokers, hawatunyanyasi kama wakulima?
Because we can't really have a control over price. Price changes in terms of the supply and demand. So I wish they could be regulated. Like at any season, we should be having a capping price. Like this is the minimum you can go, this is the maximum you can go. Now, we can't really control the maximum, but let's say this is the minimum. If let's say onions were retailing at 120, let's say the minimum, if it's very bad to a farmer, let it be at 100. It will be a win-win. Even if the broker is taking at 100, you as a farmer, you're still having a profit. The broker is still having his cut. So I think we should have some kind of a regulation, maybe a body to oversee the brokers and get them registered, that kind of a thing.
So tukuwe na a guaranteed minimum return.
Yes.
Isikuwe anakuja about desperation aseme ni 70 bob, yet it shouldn't go that low. All right. Now a lot of young people also wanasema hakuna mashamba. Kwa hivyo wakiona kijana mwenzao hapo anasema I have 30 acres under French beans, I like, how did you get 30 acres in such a prime agricultural space like Kiambu County? Hatuna mashamba. How do you get to a point where you can get 30 acres ufanyie ukulima?
Getting land, honestly, is really easy. It just depends with how focused you are into getting to the business. Because land around here, you don't ideally have to own it. Most of the land here is leased. When you're doing agriculture, it's not advisable to buy land, because if you're buying land, assuming an acre, huku mashambani goes to about, say, maybe 300, 400,000, and you want to do 30 acres, that's about 12 mic, right?
Yes.
Doesn't make sense. But when you're leasing land, is quite cheap. Now, around here in Ngoliba, the lease ranges from about 12,500 per acre per year to about 30,000 per acre per year. Yes. And the beauty is we have a freshwater river right here. So all you have to do is just get the land, and set up your equipment. If you have electricity, that's easier for you to handle with that.
Right.
Then 2, just talk to the locals. When you come to this area, there's a small market at the center there. Just talk to the locals. Hey, do we have available land here? Do you know people who own large pieces of land? Or is there some farming land around here that I can lease? So ideally, getting land is all about kutafuta tu. Lazima ujitume. Yes, it's actually advised if you're a new farmer.
Right.
Don't buy land. It makes absolutely no sense. Assuming an acre goes for like, let's say 400, 300,000. With the 300,000 and you're leasing land here, it means in a year you can get about 20, 25 acres. So you're good to go.
Right.
As opposed to just buying shamba, you'll spend a lot of
That amount goes for per month. We pay like we are renting a house. Yeah, so these areas near towns, they're quite pricey. But now if you go to the Ndani kule Masaini, we can get what the rate is saying, which is around 10K per year or maybe 15 per year. But if it is near town, it's a different story.
So what he could be paying for a year for an acre,
I'm paying for a month.
Kajiado could be paying for a month. And
Yes.
that difference is so huge.
Yes, it's huge, it's huge. And the advantage we have is we have a freshwater. You said, you see some areas don't have a river. We have a freshwater river that doesn't dry up, this Chania River.
Do you have water?
We use the drilled water, and it's also an expensive one because you have leased the land. Now we are buying water from the landlord.
Right.
And now the charge is between 100 to 150 per cubic. So you can imagine how many it will iko juu sana.
Right.
Yes.
And in that 12 acres, you're doing entirely onions. Ama umepanda kitu kingine?
I do kind of a rotation, so you'll find maybe I'm doing 8 acres. The other 4 acres is rotational because my farm have broken it into 3 blocks. So at any point I'm doing 4 acres. So I have 8, the other one is a rotational crop. As per now I have the cabbages.
Right, 8
Yes.
acres of onion.
Yes.
Where's your market?
My market mostly is Marikiti, Nairobi, because Nairobi, land ya mawe, they don't grow food, so they are my first market. They are first
Unachukulia na bei
customers.
mzuri?
Bei mzuri, yeah, because I've been in the game for quite a while. I have my network, so I've learned the game. Yeah, and like the first time, I used to be desperate. A broker will come, he tell me, Imvo inakuja kesho, itaribu. Under that pressure, I sell what they tell me, you know.
Kwa hivyo
Yeah.
wanaweza kuuzia uoga.
Wanaweza vibaya sana.
Hebu
It
niambie
happens.
uoga ambayo anaweza kukuuzia mpaka uvune
Atakwambia
kila
nisipochukua leo ya Tanzania inaingia next week.
Uwe.
Na ikiingia next week, it is almost half the price he is telling you now.
Mkulima anashtuka hapo,
Unashtuka
anasema,
you
"Oh,
are flawed.
nachukua
Then
kila
tomorrow
kitu."
you talk to your friend, unasikia ilipanda. Mtu asikuzie uoga. And also have a plan. Find a market before you start producing. The only challenge most farmers, we produce, then look for a market.
Right.
That's where we go wrong.
Now, finally, I want to speak about your market. You're exporting French beans to the international market. How is the demand there? And also, we know the international market is very specific on what they want. What are those demands?
The market is quite, I can say it's quite stable, but usually it depends.
All right.
With the season, majorly the season. Why do I say season? There's a country called Morocco. Morocco also produces French beans. So when Morocco is producing, the importers from the UK prefer getting their products from Morocco because it's closer to them, as opposed to coming to Kenya. So when they're getting their products from Morocco, it means the prices in Kenya, ideally the market in Kenya goes low. So that means the prices dip. When Morocco is not producing, Kenya tuko sawa. So they usually know. December is usually high demand. Then around March, January, February, March, April, whenever we're having Easter, because they usually consume a lot of French beans during Easter. Prices usually double during Easter.
Right.
And it's usually a 3-week window. So you'll find that the price ranges from about 80 shillings a kilo. But whenever we're having a high demand, especially during Easter, it shoots to about 170. But then there's a challenge. When the prices have doubled, that's when we are experiencing long rains in Kenya. Then when you're experiencing long rains in Kenya, kila mkulima anapanda shamba yake. So now you start getting challenges. You'll not get manual laborers to harvest. Everyone is busy in their farms, yes. So the prices are good, but unakosa watu wa kuja kufanya kazi. There's always a problem.
But it's very interesting for you to even like bring to our attention that you check Morocco wakipanda, nyinyi usijipatie kazi mingi. So meaning as a farmer, wewe na research munafaa kuwa best friends.
Yes, there's something called risk analysis in any business. Right. And I tend to feel like most farmers don't run their farms like it's a business. So whenever you're doing your farming, just do a properly planned risk matrix. It tells you between say July and September, Morocco is producing. So that means prices will go low. So if prices are going to go low, what am I going to do? Will I continue producing the large farms that I have, or do I produce something different? Or do I just leave my farm bare? At least the soil ipumue, nutrients zirudi.
Okay.
You have that option. So whenever you're experiencing such a problem, you just have to look for alternatives. On my end, what I usually do is I leave my farm bare for about 3 months.
Without growing anything
Without growing
at all.
anything, yes.
But they say a healthy soil, you need to make sure there's no one point hakuna living roots hapo chini for regenerative agriculture.
Well, that is true. But you see, at the end of the day, if you continuously over farm, they usually say rotate. But we rotate because of what? To balance nutrients and pests and diseases, right? Because French beans is a heavy feeder. Something like maize is not a heavy feeder. So you can either rotate or you can leave your farm bare. It usually works.
Right.
But iko na kazi pia, you know.
Iko na kazi. But ukulima ni kazi.
Yes. So you see, when you're doing the rotation, pia unaangalia if you're planting the Lucerne grass, if the market is there, what's the input? Si lazima all the time ukue in production. Sometimes take a break.
Okay.
Uangalie, okay, what am I doing wrong here?
Okay.
Where do I need to improve?
Right.
That way, over time, when you look at your data and what you've been doing,
Right.
you'll be able to see areas where you are failing and
Right.
where you need to improve.
Great.
Yeah.
So as we wind up this conversation, Caleb, I want you to talk to us about wakulima tumekuwa notorious of using very harmful chemical pesticides in our farms, overusing fertilizer as well, degrading the quality of our soil. What are you doing to be able to change this narrative? And then again, we are seeing a lot of lifestyle diseases cropping out, and a lot of it is from what we are putting in our bodies. And our farmers, ni kama tuko notorious kwa hiyo department. What are you doing?
First of all, I try to use the chemicals regulated by the PCPB. If you go to their website, there are those chemicals that they have enlisted, they have a code, you're able to know that this is what has undergone PCPB regulations, and it is what you can use in your market.
Right.
The second thing I do is in chemical spraying, there's what we call a PHI. It's a window period that you observe when you last applied the chemical and when you can harvest. Like for mine, most crops go between, there's the one for 3 days, 7 days, there's even one for 14 days. So you need to, if I applied on 20th and this crop has a PHI of 7, I make sure that I'll be harvesting on the 28th after the window period. So I just try to stick by the producer's regulations or the requirements. Yes, the other thing is I'm trying to go a little bit into organic, though it's not an easy journey. It's quite costly. And also we still have a few products in the market that are organic, which will be safe to the consumer. So I've started, but I know with more research, we'll be there soon as Kenya as a nation.
Right.
Yes, thank you.
Finally, Mareka, speak to that young person who anataka kuingia kwa ukulima lakini ako 50-50 bado. Anangoja to that final push that will make them get there. You having been here for some time now, what piece of advice would you have for the young people watching you right now?
For the young people who want to venture into farming, first thing they need to do is get a mentor. Get someone who's done it for a long time. They will give you the details of what to avoid, what to do, what kind of crops you should plant. Once you have a mentor, get a company. I usually recommend getting exporting companies because they're regulated and you'll have a contract. So that means you'll be under contractual farming. So when you're planting your French beans, you'll get that they'll give you a planting schedule of when you need to plant. So you're not going to have any problems when it comes to the market end of your product. So it's challenging, just like any other business. I'll just advise them to learn more, travel more, and also should they try to venture into farming, they should focus on 2 things. 1 is the cost, 2 is the risk. Those 2 things go hand in hand.
Right.
If you manage those 2, you'll be successful.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much, Caleb and Moreka. You're so young, but the much you know about agriculture surpasses your years.
Yeah, thank you for
Very
having us.
nice to listen to you. I believe that you, our viewers back at home, have learned so much about what you need to look out for in the space of agriculture. Na kama wewe ni kijana mdogo ambao ulikuwa unangoja kuona vijana wengine ambao wanafanya ukulima and they're thriving at it, these 2 are perfect representations of that. And here on the program, we'll make sure that that we are showing you the opportunities in the agricultural sector, all the way from the farm to the fork. Thank you so much for watching our Gold Conversation all the way from Kiambu County with the young people in agriculture.
Na bila shaka kiwambo chako unaangalia kwamba tumepata kuandikiwa kwamba ni benki ya cooperative, kumaanisha kwamba unapata udhamini mkubwa kabisa kupitia benki hiyo. Kama msikilizaji na mfuasi ambaye unatufuatilia na mtazamaji vile vile, unahakikisha kwamba unafahamu mengi kupitia hilo, kwamba kuna udhamini unaofaa. Kama unajaliwa nafasi hiyo kuingia katika mashirika ya wakulima, ni raha sana, kwa sababu utajaliwa kile tunaita tope chujio au biogas katika shamba lako, milk chillers vile vile, na unahitajika tu kuingia katika kundi la wakulima. Kama wewe ni moja ambao unahitaji kuingia kule, basi tafuta watu wengine 9 ili ujaliwe nafasi ya kujiunga na kundi hilo na mashirika ya wakulima. Ufanikishwe hilo, basi jiunga na mashirika ya wakulima, ukwende katika benki ya cooperative, utaelekezwa pakubwa sana kuhusiana namna wewe utafanikisha mambo yako kule shambani. Kwa sasa tuende mapumzikoni kidunya, tukirejea kungali kuna mengi. Usikwende popote, usibonyeze kiduboshi chako, salia na sisi.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. Now remember, here at Kenya's Gold, our key agenda is to see more young people taking up space in the agricultural sector. And now I want you to listen to a young girl who's now a farm enthusiast. Hajaanza bado, lakini she's eager to get into that space. Take a listen.
Ashley Sarah Nyambura is my name. My interest in agriculture stems back from my background, especially my paternal side. I come from a background of farmers, something that we could say is in the blood, yeah? And I am passionate about farming, looking forward to getting into it. That has to be cereal and herbs. Cereal specifically for the soy, not just because it's a good crop and it has quite a long market shelf, but also it's easy to value add. Herbs because as much as it has a short, I would say, shelf life, it's easy to value add. So we get to ensure that we have quality food for our people, but also provide employment directly and indirectly to the people. You know, it's not just about us. We live for more.